Hi, I'm Shaul. On today's video, I want to discuss lens reviews. When a new lens is announced, there are typically reviews appearing on YouTube or on review websites where you can learn a lot about the new lens, its capabilities, what it's good for, etc. But there are also a lot of things you don't learn from those typical reviews. Lens reviews are most of the time done with a flat target. Typically, you print a test sheet from a software like Imatest or another benchmark software that is designed for testing optics. You take a photo with a lens, with a high resolution camera, and you run the resulting image or images through the software. So what you get is a comparison of the image obtained by the lens to a standard target or a standard result. And that reveals the performance of the lens in a lot of aspects, like resolution or the MTF chart, like coma, stigmatism, vignetting, many metrics that describe the performance of the lens. So let's see what you learn from those tests. In most tests, the first two parameters or aspects tested are geometric distortion and vignetting. Now, those two parameters are corrected in the camera or in raw development software. So you have to really go out of your way to see those issues in real life, in your daily practice of making or processing photographs. So I would suggest that these two parameters are not really critical, but still they will appear in every review. Next is sharpness. Now, those test images are taken at a very high resolution, and indeed those large magnifications, you can see lack of sharpness. It is maybe quite obvious, especially the corners of the image and at wide apertures. But this is now how we look at photos. I suggest you should enlarge the image on your computer screen to a limited extent. Something like 2700 pixels across the horizontal axis, because this is approximately the limit of our eyes resolving power when we look at a photograph at a normal viewing distance, where we can see the whole image in the narrow, sharp portion of our field of view. This is how people look at images. If you stand too close to a printed image or to a cinema screen or a computer screen, you need to move your head from side to side to see everything you are interested in, which is uncomfortable, to me at least. Some photographers are extremely anal about sharpness. To them, the idea of making an image is extracting the maximum amount of detail. If you are that anal, if detail really matters to you, you might as well take every photo with a flash, or at least mount the camera on a tripod. And while doing that, you might as well use the pixel shift property in your camera to really increase the resolution and get rid of artifacts such as moire, noise, some chromatic aberration. Most viewers will never see those details anyway. They will never search from them. So if there is some movement in the image, and there always is, even if you use the best stabilization system currently available in cameras, the lens will not be the limiting factor for sharpness. Next is the appearance of the bokeh, or the characteristics of out of focus surfaces. Now, what the tester would usually do is position a small object like a toy or a little statue on a table, and another object with many little colorful light sources at a large distance behind it. They would focus the lens on the object at the front and look at the light sources at the distance, which are, of course, completely blurred because of the close focusing distance. Now, they would typically look at the shape of the bokeh balls at the corners of the frame to see whether they are round or cat-eyed or moon-like, and or evaluate their smoothness to see whether there are any onion rings or sharp edges to them. But in real life, you rarely take such photos. First of all, light sources typically appear very small in real life images. So the viewer doesn't get the chance to examine exactly what they look like. I've never seen onion rings in a normal photographs, simply because it was not the main subject in the photo. It wasn't a point of interest, and of course that light source appears too small in the image to really notice if there's anything wrong in it. What is relevant, at least to me, is the continuous transition from sharpness to unsharpness. But those reviews don't look at the middle distances where objects only start to appear out of focus, because this is where a lot of optics show some issues. I can show you with some lenses the transition from sharpness to slightly blurry really doesn't look good. You see double edges at those distances, and objects really look like they fall apart. Next is chromatic aberration. Beware of lenses that have no chromatic aberration at all. Those lenses contain a lot of correcting glass, which is most of the time extra low dispersion glass types. That type of glass eliminates the appearance of depth in images, as we discussed many times before in different video. So you do want the lens to show some chromatic aberration. It is correctable in camera or in RAW developers, but the lens has to make it in order to be able to convey the shape of objects and to give a good representation of distances in the image. Lenses that correct chromatic aberration too well are not suitable for photographing living things. They're only good for reproduction of flat objects. According to some tests I did, you start getting decent rendition of depth or of three-dimensionality in your images when the width of chromatic aberration is about 8 to 10 microns, on the sensor, which means about 1.5 pixels on 24 megapixel camera, or about 2.5 pixels on a 45 megapixel camera. Now, this amount of chromatic aberration is not at all visible from a normal viewing distance. And indeed, in some lens reviews, the reviewer enlarges the view to above 100% to be able to clearly see whether chromatic aberration or fringing is corrected in a sufficient manner to their taste. There are important aspects of optical performance of a lens that are rarely discussed in those reviews. Or sometimes they do get discussed, but since there is no good, precise instrumental metric to measure them, they are just mentioned. The reviewers do not really spend enough time and effort to scrutinize them properly. The actual aperture or the designation of f number of a lens is only indicative. In a lot of cases, it's way over-optimistic. There is a difference between the nominal maximum aperture and the realistic maximum aperture, if you know what I mean. The lens shooting me now is the Jupiter 3, wide open at f1.5. It's a 50 millimeter lens, an old Soviet lens, and you can see how low in contrast it is. It's actually so low in contrast and so soft that you can barely focus it, even with a film camera that is perhaps more suitable for manual focusing than digital cameras. Now, currently I'm using the Tekart Leica M to Nikon Z autofocus adapter, and I can't really see whether I'm in focus or not, but it doesn't really matter because the image is very low in contrast and soft. Now I'll try to stop the aperture down by one stop and see what happens. All I did is stop the aperture down from f1.5 to around f2. It has a clickless aperture, so I'm not really sure at which f number I'm shooting exactly, but it should be f2 or thereabouts. You can see that the contrast really improved. So did the sharpness. It's still not a contrasty lens. It's an old Zona copy with a lot of dense, high refractive index glass, and it's a low contrast optical design, which is interesting in itself. It has 7 elements in 3 groups, with one huge triple element group right in the middle of the barrel. But that is perhaps for another time. Anyway, you can see what a small change in the aperture can do to the appearance of the image. Now, what you just saw is not only typical to vintage lenses. Some of the newer lenses suffer from it too. They are a bit under-engineered. So the performance in wide open aperture is perhaps questionable at best. The lens shooting me now is the Thypoc Chimera 28 millimeters. Currently it is wide open at f1.4. Now I'll stop the aperture down by 1 stop, and as you can see, there is not really a big difference in the quality, in the contrast, in the sharpness of the image. This lens is designed to be shot wide open. And from what I've seen, there are not many lenses that can claim it. I'll just open the lens up to the maximum aperture again. You can see there is no noticeable difference. Another modern lens that shows some issues wide open is this Falkland 40mm f1.4 Classic. That is really not usable wide open. You have to stop it to f2. One more issue that is probably the most important to me and also to you if you are still following my channel, is the overall rendition of the lens. I'm not talking about sharpness or all those other metrics. I'm talking about how true to life the lens is, how accurately it can convey the shapes of objects and distances. When you watch a photograph made by the lens, do you feel that you are there, standing in the scene, or do you feel like you're looking at cardboard cutouts? And the reason lens reviewers do not scrutinize those issues is there are no appropriate metrics to describe those characteristics. You have to compare the optical qualities of the lens to the optical qualities of the eyes, not to a standard target that is analyzed by computer. Now, one way to do it is do a test similar to the one I performed, which is compare a lot of images taken by different lenses and score them. Score them yourselves, or ask other people to score them, and then compare the results. In science, it is not something we like to do because those scores are subjective. They are obtained by opinion and not by a precise instrument. But it might be the only way to do it. I would like to suggest another way. Natural geometry is a complex one. It's unlike the geometry of manufactured artifacts. The basic natural geometry is a lot more complex. It's based on fractals, which means that the same structures appear on in tiny scales or at very high frequencies, and also at very large scales. For example, take cloud formations. Some clouds, like cirrus clouds, are made of ice crystals. And if you look at cirrus cloud from a satellite, you can still see those formations of the needle-like crystals of ice, even on a huge scale of hundreds of kilometers. In comparison, cumulus clouds, which are those amorphic sheep-like clouds, are made of tiny water droplets. And if you look at them from a satellite, they will still look amorphic and somewhat sphere-like, even on a huge scale. Another example of fractal geometry is the shape of trees. When you cut a tree into individual branches, each branch resembles in its structure the whole tree. And even the smallest, youngest branches have this peculiar structure. So this fractal geometry is common to a lot of natural objects. Now, if you take an image of a natural object, like a tree, and you run an edge detection procedure on it, you actually get a series of complex lines in the picture. The combination of all these lines has a dimension, which is called the fractal dimension. And the fractal dimension is somewhere between 1, which is just a straight line, and 2, which represents a full surface. Now, the more complex the image or the image of that natural object, the higher the fractal dimension. I'm not a very good mathematician, but I would suggest measuring the fractal dimension of images made of a standard natural object, like a flower or preferably a tree, and comparing them. I bet that the optics that have a good rendering of depth, the more true-to-life lenses, will show a higher fractal dimension than lenses that are flatter. So those are some thoughts about lens reviews. Unfortunately, there is not a lot you can really learn from those reviews. And the most important aspects of optical performance that are real issues in everyday photography are not very well scrutinized in those reviews. Of course, it depends on the type of photography you do. But I believe that the perception of depth or true-to-life rendition is something that is a common interest in a lot of types of photography, even in architectural photography, especially in interior photography. You do not only photograph flat walls. You need some representation of distance, some good evaluation of the shapes and volume of objects. So if there are any engineers or mathematicians or scientists among you who watch this video, please share your thoughts about the best way to really measure the rendition of three-dimensionality in a photograph, in an objective instrumental protocol. It will be very interesting to me. Thank you for watching.